just so y'all know, my eye keeps switching, so if my eye is switching, just know it's me. Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so excited that you joined me today. Today, I'm going to be sharing all of the books that I read in the month of April. April was definitely a harder month for me to read because, y'all, I'm an elementary school teacher. None of this is new news. I'm really tired. That's all. So in the month of April, I read a total of 7 books this month, which was a pretty okay reading month for me. I feel like that's average for me, but I do want to mention a couple books that I finished the last week of March. I had filmed my March wrap-up previously, and I didn't get to mention these in that wrap-up, so I'm going to include them now. So let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, the first book that I'm going to mention, I actually finished this last week of March, like I said, and that is Love Locked Among Us by Paul E. Miller. I actually read this for Keisha's book club, Revive, which is her Christian book club that she runs, and I read this for the month of March and absolutely adored it. I'm going to be very honest with you right now, I really do not vibe with a lot of Christian nonfiction because I do not want to go into a Christian nonfiction that is just completely theology. I want it to relate to me. Like, I want to be able to take what's in this book and relate it to my real life, because I feel like that's what Christian walk is. Like, it's supposed to be encouragement in the everyday life, and this was exactly what I wanted. So in this book, we dive deeper into the love of Jesus and what that looks like and what that feels like and how we can use that love in our everyday life to show to others. This book, I feel like, really changed my life. And I don't say that lightly, I really don't. And I feel like a lot of these themes in here and a lot of things that I learned in here, I am applying to my daily life, and I loved it. I loved it. This is definitely one of those books that it's hard to rate because it's just so special. Obviously, I'm going to give it a 5 stars if you need a rating, but just know it really did change my life. Next is another book that I read the last week of March, and that is Till There Was You by Lindsay Hammeroff. This was one of my anticipated reads of the entire year, solely based on this cover. This is such an adorable cover, and I'm a sucker for anything that involves pancakes. So basically this one follows our main character Lexi, and Lexi's dream is to become a Michelin star chef, and she runs into this guy named Jake and they hit it off right away. It starts off at a one-night stand, which I really don't love that, but basically they fall for one another and get to talking and get closer, and then Jake's music career hits off. And she really doesn't hear from Jake much after that until she hears his new single, all about her famous blueberry pancake recipe. Guys, I was anticipating this one so incredibly much, and I really did enjoy it. I ended up giving it a solid 3 stars. I think it was average. I don't think that it was something to write home about. And there was a lot of things in here that I didn't really love. It's just kind of one of those books that you read and then you never really think about again. I did really like seeing Gordon Ramsay's name pop up here every once in a while. Overall, it was a fun time, but not a memorable time. And the last book that I'm going to talk about that I finished that last week of March is My Lucky Charm by Courtney Walsh. This is another anticipated read for me because I've really enjoyed all of Courtney Walsh's other books that I've read. This one was probably my least favorite. So this is the second book in her little series that she calls Holidays with the Hearts, and you're basically getting a cameo of the characters that we met in the first book. This one is following our main character who is asked to show the new guy on the hockey team around town. He's brand new to the city and needs kind of like a host to show him around. And then a romance ensues from there. Here's what I didn't like about it. So I ended up giving this one a solid 3.5 stars, which kind of saddens me because I really do love Courtney Walsh's writing. I love her romances, but listen, y'all, I actually live the grumpy sunshine trope, so I'm all about that trope. But this main guy, Grayson, had the personality of a cardboard box. He was just very monotone, and I did not get a single thing out of him. Really, the only thing that saved this book for me was the female main character. I loved her personality. I kind of related to her personality almost, but I just thought, honestly, that she could do so much better than Grayson. I'm sorry. So now we're actually getting into the April reads now, and the first book that I picked up this month was Listen for the Lie by Amy and Tintera. I was highly anticipating this one, especially hearing all of the good reviews for it, and I even picked up the audiobook to go with it. Let's just talk about this one. So basically we're following our main character, and she wakes up in her best friend's blood and has no recollection of what happened. But there's also a podcast element of actually telling the story of what happened, and then you're getting our main character's point of view. But I was sold right there when I heard podcast element. I love podcast elements. I love anything, honestly, like tape recording, anything like that in books, I am there for. I will say I really did enjoy that element of this story. I thought that it added so much to the overall plot. However, I wanted so much more from this book. And I know that that is a minority opinion because I think that a lot of people go into this book and they absolutely love it. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I read a lot of thrillers, guys, and this one, I just wanted so much more from it. The overall twist for me was very lackluster. I didn't really get a lot out of it. I really did like the plot, though. It was very fast-paced. It kept me on the edge of my seat, but I wanted so much more. Do with that what you will. The next book I read is actually a little novella, and I picked this up on a complete whim after hearing one of my favorite creators talk about it, and this was called Not My Baby by Anya Mora. This story is following our female main character who is very, very pregnant, and she is alone one night during a storm, and she lives on an island, and she starts to give birth. She's alone in the middle of a thunderstorm on an island giving birth. Some women are just so much braver than I'll ever be. I'm sorry. So she ends up giving birth alone in the middle of the storm. She falls asleep with her newborn baby in her arms. The only problem is when she wakes up, her baby is gone. The baby that she has is not the baby she gave birth to. Okay, I'm gonna leave that synopsis there because that intrigued me so much. I will say that this was such a fun ride. This is one of those books that you just pick up when you need something fast and when you need something that's gonna keep your attention. This will do that for you. Is it going to be your new favorite book of the year? Absolutely not. Is it going to be one of those books that you've remembered years and years down the road? No, it's not. It's not. I'm telling you that right now. I gave it a solid 3 stars. It was fun. It was crazy. And I didn't see the twist coming. It was exactly what I needed in the moment. Guess what I picked up next? I got a 6-star read this month, and you'll never guess what it was. Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Guys, why have you not told me about this book? Elise had to tell me about it. And Elise, I trust you with my life from now on. I'm just gonna let you know. She recommends me one book and it's a 6-star. Are you kidding me? So I'm not gonna go too into deep with this one because I do have a whole reading vlog on it. But here, I'm gonna read my review for you, okay? 6 stars. The end. Just kidding. This one is following our main character, Lily. And Lily's dad owns this kind of treasure hunting sort of business where he takes people out into the desert where they go on this fake treasure hunt. And Lily's dad has passed down the business to Lily. And Lily has met this guy like way back in the day and they fell in love. And Leo and Lily end up like going their separate ways. And a little bit into the future, Leo and his friends actually end up back at Lily's business on a fake treasure hunt, and Lily has to oblige them. Oh, I cannot say enough good things about this book. I can't. This book was so good, and I will recommend this book until somebody makes me stop talking about it, because 6 stars. I feel like that's self-explanatory enough. 6 stars. Moving on. The next book that I read was One by One by Frida McFadden. I gave this 3.75 stars. I thought that it was just kind of meh for Frida McFadden. It was kind of like a cheesy horror film vibe. It was like a, and then there were none. Like, they get picked off one by one. Basically, it's about this group of friends that go off for a getaway and then their car breaks down, and on their way to find help, they start getting picked off one by one. I really did enjoy the ride of this book. I thought it was very fast-paced. I really was intrigued about what was going on. However, I really didn't like the overall plot twist. I think the way Frida McFadden did it was not my favorite. And I went into more spoiler thoughts in that same weekend vlog if you want to check that out. But I didn't love it. It was a good time, but not a great time. And then I picked up this masterpiece of a book, Murder Road by Simone St. James. I have never read a Simone St. James before, and who was gonna tell me that she writes paranormal books? Guys, paranormal is one of my favorite tropes in thrillers. Anyway, so this follows our main characters, and they have just gotten married, and they're actually on their way to their honeymoon one night where they see this girl just standing in the middle of the road, and so obviously they pull over to see if she's okay, and she's not. She's bleeding, and they decide to take her to the hospital where she dies. That's not a spoiler. Okay, it's in like page 4. They're not allowed to leave town because they have a dead girl in their hands and they can't really prove that they didn't do it. This was so creepy. Oh my gosh, this was so creepy. Again, I've said this once before, but I have read a ton of thrillers in my lifetime, and this was one of the creepiest ones I've ever read. Do with it what you will. And then I picked up Namesake by Adrienne Young. This is book 2. The first book is Fable. And if you watched my vlog that I did in March for my beach reading vlog, I absolutely adored Fable. And it was really the kickstart of my pirate romance era. And I was so excited about this one. So this is just a continuation of Fable's story of sailing the ocean blue, just trying to not die. Because in a world of pirates, I feel like that would be hard to do. So I gave this a solid 4 stars. I really love this universe. I love these characters. I love this plot line. However, I feel like this was nothing compared to Fable. I feel like Fable was top tier, and this one was just definitely a second book for me. I feel like Fable gave me all the high stakes and all the romance that I was digging for. This one, however, was merely vibes. That's pretty much all it was. Like, it was, I mean, there were things happening throughout it, but it was definitely nothing compared to Fable. And last but certainly not least, I ended the month on a 5-star read. This is The Selection by Kira Cass. This is book number 1 in the Selection series. Guys, I know you know what this is, and I know you've probably read it. I am late to the game, as always. I really didn't know anything about this book or this book series going into it. I'm so glad that I did that because I went into this completely blind and I loved it. I loved it. I can't remember for the life of me who told me this, but someone compared it to Hunger Games with dresses. That's literally this book. With a little bit more royalty to it, I feel like. There's no dying. Well, no, there's no dying. Let me just tell you. This book is following our main character, America. And America and her family live in a poor community. I feel like it's like the Hunger Games where you have like different districts and they're all in different levels of wealth and poverty. Like they're labeled by a number. Well, the prince is looking for a wife. Okay, and these families obviously need to get their foot in the door. So they're letting their teenage daughters apply to be this prince's wife, and America gets chosen. She goes to the castle and she's like primping herself and like preparing to meet the prince. And America, let's just say America is not like other girls. I loved this. Well, there you have it, folks. That was all the books that I read in the month of April. Again, it was kind of an average month for me. It wasn't a great month, but I did find some really great reads this month and some that were just kind of okay. What was your favorite book that you read in April? Let me know that too. If you don't have anything else to say, leave me a rain cloud or some sort of rain emoji. All right, my friends, I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys!